Well, welcome everyone to day 15, I believe, of 21 days, setting the stage for change. Yesterday, I didn't do a live. I shared someone else's videos, which I thought were quite inspiring. And it was very generous of Suma to actually take the time and answer some questions. He really shines the light on those questions, on seeing things from a higher perspective. And I appreciated his time and Nazara's time to really go deeper, where I'm much more focused at the moment on just scraping the surface for more inquiry to come in. I seem to be wanting to point to the surface where it's just like that the initial insight to then questioning, hang on, do I want to go deeper? Or am I sure about what I know? Like just those general questions, just to allow the person to choose. Look, before we were only aware that this existed. Now what? I ask myself these certain questions. It's an introductory of what I remember going through. And the only reason why I started to ask certain questions and differentiate from the masses was because of my pain. So I'm not going to, there are so many great teachers that have the time and are inspired to go down that path. However, what I would like to do is for the general masses is to just allow them to have a breath of fresh air and consider the possibility that they are already worthy, that they are already lovable, that they are missing absolutely nothing, and how to just reach out for that possibility to be absorbed, to self-inquire, the initial step. All right, this is why I'm doing this 21 days, just to scrape the top, just to bring in just a little bit of light into what people think that there's such darkness. All right. So we already have these innate abilities. We have the ability to focus. We have the ability to imagine. We have the ability to daydream. We have the ability to engage in thought. We have the ability to meditate and just be aware of thought. We have so many abilities that we're completely unaware of. We're completely unaware of thoughts that are actually have captivated us, that have bridged us, that have jailed us, that have closed us into this narrow-mindedness, and we literally believe blindfoldly. And I walk out in the world and I just ask myself, completely dumbfounded, like, how can you believe this? And then I step back and say, don't say anything, it's fine. Like, I just step back, but there is something nagging at me that just, well, speak what you say, speak what you see, and just allow those that are interested to come and listen. Those that are not interested will probably put me in the trash bin or have to say something, and I'll just be a projection of them. But this is why I've decided to do these 21 days of setting the stage for change, just to bring to the awareness that there is a different perspective. Not only is there a different perspective, there's a true perspective and a non-true perspective. Just like light exists, the darkness doesn't. Darkness doesn't exist. However, you can close the blinds, you can close the window, you can wrap it up, and you will resist light. But it doesn't mean darkness exists. But you can experience it. You can close the window, you can close the blinds, and you'll be left with the experience of darkness. And if you focus long enough in there, you stay there for a day in this darkness. You stay there for a month in this darkness. You stay there for a year in this darkness. You stay there your whole life in the darkness. That will be your experience, because that's what we've done. we've just experienced the resistance of light. Now do that. If you bring duality into your awareness, everything you've experienced in your life, the presence of it and the lack of it, the presence of this and the lack of this, and you stay focused on one version of the other, light or the resistance of light, which we're now going to call darkness, but light or the resistance of light, which we're going to call darkness, light or the resistance of light, which we call darkness. It's like that for everything. There's only love and the resistance of it. And looks like hate. We call it hate. Duality, what is it? What is duality? It's the truth and the resistance of it. And we give it a name. Abundance, the resistance of it. We look at it, lack. So, our ability to focus. Our ability to focus is, you can experience either or. You can experience light and the resistance of it that we call darkness. So we can focus on the experience of the resistance of light and then we can focus on it and write a whole book on it. We can focus on darkness and play out a movie of it. We can focus on darkness and create a group about it. We can focus on darkness and have an experience within darkness. Or we can focus on light within the darkness and go to the root. How did this get here? Oh, I'm not seeing this. And I open up the window, there's light. So you can actually go within the actual experience of darkness and question, where does it come from? You dive deep and you actually look at it. I'm experiencing darkness. What do I want to experience now? You kind of need to go into one in order to then come out the other end. So this ability to focus is to see the two, but to know the truth. And the truth always feels better. Light feels a lot better. I'm not going to move my focus. I have experienced darkness. I see that. What do I know is true? Or am I just going to assume that what they've told me is true, that this is only what exists? Darkness is part of life. You got to deal with it. You got to try and fix it. Duality is that. There's the truth and the resistance of it. There's the truth and then the damping down of it, the not being able to see it. And that's how we create the two. I mean, I could get into conversations for hours about duality. It is the most incredible tool that we have at our disposal. The mind is an incredible tool that we have at our disposal, all for the benefit of creating experiences. But you've got to start asking questions. Which one feels better, darkness or light? I know that light feels better, but right now I'm in darkness, Raf. And this is my reality. Absolutely. But it is not the only reality. It is an experience from the resistance of light. And sometimes you'll stay there for hours, you'll stay there for days. Don't let anyone tell you that you can't stay there or it's a bad thing. If you've had the experience of the duality of light, of the duality of love, of the duality of worthiness, of the duality of greatness, if you've experienced the other side of it, experience it to the fullest. There will come a moment where you'll get up from that, you'll dust yourself off and say, I'm ready now to see the source of that. What is the contrary of that? I've been feeling unworthy for 48 hours. And it sucked, but I felt it. Now that you're feeling, you've dusted off, now contemplate, what is the contrary? What feels true to me? Unworthiness? Worthy. What does that feel like? Open up the window. Draw the curtains. Don't just say because you've experienced unworthiness. If you've experienced unworthiness, worthiness exists. It has to. If you've experienced one, the other has to exist. That's the beauty of duality. Now go focus there. What does that feel like? Go there. If you hadn't experienced unworthiness, it wouldn't occur to you, would it? In fact, it hasn't occurred to many. But if you've experienced one, the other exists. Go where it feels better. If you've experienced darkness, light exists. You wouldn't know darkness from light if the two didn't exist. Now, what do you prefer? All my life, everywhere I've gone, everyone's told me the limitations of this world, and it didn't ever feel good to me. It's never felt good to me. Being good enough under certain circumstances never felt good to me. What would it feel like to feel good all the time about who I really am instead of this image and this identity that I've created? What would it feel like to always feel abundant, independently from our measurements of success and abundance? Lack has been taught to us. Unworthiness has been taught to us. Unlovable has been taught to us. All through the pain of just focusing in one direction of duality, darkness. Focus. Ask yourself questions. I spent, I don't know how many hours going down a hypothesis of a reflection that someone gave to me about what they thought about me. And I went down that path. What if I believed what they believed about me? And it felt really bad. I felt their pain. It feels terrible. It feels utterly crap. Why did I do that? I have no idea. And it feels like shit. It really feels like shit. And thank goodness you can go to sleep. And in the midst of that storm, you wake up and you say, what would it feel the contrary? And it bloody feels amazing. And I've just experienced what I am not. Was that a bad thing to do? Was it wrong? Who gives a crap about? You've experienced it. Now get up and now choose where to focus. You've been down there. The question is always the pointer to experiencing the answer, not to lip service it. I think every single teacher could bring himself blue in the face of just talking and talking and talking and talking. But until you don't bring it upon yourself to focus on the only thing that is important, it is true direct experience with who you really are. All of this is just lip service. You've got to go deep down inside and just feel for light, feel for worthiness, feel for love without asking the circumstances outside of you to allow you to even do that, because that's what you're asking. Circumstances and events, you're asking them permission. May I please love myself? May I please feel I am the best thing that ever hit the face of the earth? I have spent the last 48 hours, and that's probably why I wasn't inspired to share anything, because I went down, I experienced somebody else's projection of who they thought I was and embodied that for 48 hours. And it was the worst feeling I have ever felt. That's not me. And that can never be you either. Darkness is simply when you've decided that that is the only reality that exists. If someone closed the curtains and now you don't see the light, and now this is where we've born in and thinking this is all that exists. Duality is an amazing thing. There's the truth and the resistance of it. There's the truth and the resistance of it. There's the truth and the resistance of it. And you can see either or, either or, either or, either or. And if you go deeper into it, you'll actually realize, have an aha moment, that the absence, the resistance, is an illusion in of itself. Lack doesn't exist. The fact that you believe it, you're experiencing it, but it doesn't exist. It doesn't lack doesn't exist. Bad people don't exist. It's just they are in so much pain believing that lack exists. It is the root of all suffering. There is no lack. We're creating the illusion of lack. I was watching a documentary and about the Federal Reserve and how they just print money, print money, print money, print money, print money. And then after 7 or 8 years, they stop printing money. And then we have this illusion that there is not enough. And then we have a depression. And then they start printing money. And that's exactly what they've been doing. So we can get the feel of, here's a lot of light, here's a lot of light, here's a lot of light. And now we're closing the window. And now we get to experience the duality of it. But lack in of itself, if everyone just took money out of the equation, this whole planet would be abundant. Things don't work like that, Raf. Things don't work like that. And that's what I keep saying. If we keep believing what the crowds believe, we will only achieve what the majority achieve. Our ability to focus on truth. Go and sit with the truth. And what is the truth? That which feels good, that resonates with you. You are the totality, the absolute of everything. You are light itself. You are abundance itself. You are love itself. You are joy itself. Anything different to that is not true. How do I know it's not true? It feels like crap. You feel like shit. You feel terrible. And a negative emotion is the indication of what I am focusing on right now is not true. Focus, follow, when they say follow the heart, follow that feeling of resonance. This feels so much better. Stay there longer. And then know it for yourself. Experience it for yourself, that no one can change your mind. Get a momentum going. No one can ever make me believe in lack again. I've gone too far down that rabbit hole. Are you ready to go down that rabbit hole? I'm feeling so much better today. I'm feeling so much better today. Man, that was an awful experience. All right. I think I'm going to give it a close. Focus, guys. Tomorrow I'll bring back our normal momentum now that this episode has concluded itself once and for all. But focus. Focus is an ability that you have innately, naturally within you. You can either look left, you can look right. You can look inward, you can look outward. You can look everywhere. You can spin around 360 degrees. You have an ability to focus. You have an ability to focus. Attention, awareness in any direction. Consider them both. Where the light is, or the result of the resistance of it. The moment you start focusing on love instead of hate, on abundance instead of lack, the difference in your reality changes. Because if you are no longer to believe a fairy tale, in your heart, you know the truth. So when in your action, you're not bringing that energy with you, you're not bringing that frequency with you, you're not bringing the fear of experiencing the very thing you've realized doesn't exist. If you no longer believe in lack, when you're actually doing something, you're not focused on losing anything because you no longer believe it. You've got to see that lack doesn't exist. You've got to see that unworthiness can never be you. You've got to see that you're never lacking in any love. It's an absurdity to believe it. But I understand if you do. We've been indoctrinated to believe certain things that are really not there. We have so many abilities, so many human beings on this planet have shown us that they've healed their own bodies, mind alone, that they're breatharians, they never eat. And yes, these things exist. And if they exist, that means the possibility is there. Is the majority doing it? No, because the majority keep achieving what the crowds believe. You don't need food to exist. You don't need water to exist. You don't need nothing. You don't need love to exist. You are love itself. You are energy itself. You are the very energy that allows everything else to be created. But if you have these conversations on a global platform, or you bring it up to a tea party, you're going to be eaten alive, because it just literally bounces off everybody else's fundamental core beliefs of what they're doing. Someone's a doctor, someone's in health and fitness, someone is it's going to hit someone else's beliefs of their actual existence. But your ability to focus in the intimacy of your own mind, you're hurting nobody. You're connecting to your truth. Now go be magnificent, radiate light, radiate truth, because now you're happy and you're smiling and you're loving. Why? Because you tapped in and turned on. And now life will reflect that frequency. You will only be exposed to light because that is the only thing you know yourself to be. You'll only be exposed to love because you know yourself to be. You'll be exposed to abundance because that's where you know yourself to be. But if you're in doubt, you'll still get to see what you still believe. Is it an absurdity never to lack anymore? Why? Unless you want the experience of it, go ahead. Is it convenient to still believe in your unworthiness? Why? But if that's something that you go ahead, go have the experience. But remember, if lack exists, the opposite must exist. You cannot deny that. Duality is the only thing that we have fundamentally all agree on. But no one is pointing something to you that you have to look at darkness all the time. And guess what? Duality is light and the resistance of it. Darkness doesn't really exist. So contemplate, focus. Are you actually focus on an ultimate truth or the illusion of the opposite? There's no way you cannot be worthy. You are so worthy and so free that you can create bondage and unworthiness. If you're not the ultimate if you're not the ultimate level of love, you will not be able to feel all the other slower vibrations of emotions. You have to be the primordial truth in order to experience all the other layers of illusion. You're never doing anything wrong. You're just looking and experiencing what you're looking at. And sometimes looking at the darkness, it sort of sucks you straight in. You get angry. I went through pain. I went through turmoil. I got depressed and I felt unworthy, like I shouldn't even exist. And bam, all in what, 48 hours, the turmoil, just by going down that road. And I didn't even literally choose it. But because of the tight frame of time, it just, all of it just looked more and more and more and more absurd. And it served me well to even be able to find words to describe it. It was just my focus. That I've never had the courage to actually point out to people how absurd you actually sound when I'm looking at you. And I've bottled that up for years. Since the first time I ever heard someone say to me, "You can't do that." It's just like, why? Why do you believe such awfulness? You're not good enough. You're not worthy enough. You don't have enough. All of these things. Just pain to my body, pain and ache. How can you put yourself through that? And we do, and we do, and we do, and we do. What if you were the most worthiest thing on this planet? What if you were love itself? Allow yourself to go down that path. Allow yourself to actually experience what it feels like. Focus. See the truth and the non-truth. Only light exists. Only light exists. Only light exists. Yes, I have experienced darkness, but what is it? Oh, it's because the light was restricted. You're absolutely right. You are able to experience darkness. Absolutely. You are able to experience lack. Absolutely. You are able to experience the lack of love. Absolutely. But is that the truth? If you believe you need anything outside of yourself, you'll be victim and a prisoner all your life. There is nothing outside of you that you need to be you. Okay. I think I brought that one to a close pretty fast. Thank you so much, people. People reflecting love in all their different shades. Instead, you're all love. You are all love itself. You are love itself.